Cosmonaut Valery Tokarev is at the controls of this Soyuz spacecraft for the fourth time. He piloted the vehicle into docking at the International Space Station in October when he and fellow Expedition 12 crew member Bill MacArthur arrived at the complex along with American Gregory Olson at the time. Tokarev also piloted the Soyuz vehicle for 2 relocations of the spacecraft, one from the Pirs docking compartment to the Zarya module in November to make way for the ease of operations of a Russian spacewalk out of the Pirs airlock. And again in March to move it from the Zarya port to the aft end of the station at the Zvezda docking port, from which it undocked earlier today. That made way for the Expedition 13 crew's arrival with Pontes and their Soyuz about a week ago to that Zarya port. Now the aft end of the International Space Station is free for the next Progress vehicle that next cargo vehicle scheduled to launch to the space station on April 24th. The Soyuz is flying under the call sign Rassvet, which means dawn in Russian, and it was chosen by Tokarev for the vehicle. This is additional video of the Soyuz spacecraft as it undocked and backed away from the International Space Station. And undocking was at 3:28 p.m. Central Time today, and a few minutes after that, Tokarev performed a very subtle separation burn for 8 seconds. That separation burn started the Soyuz moving even further away from the International Space Station. The next major activity for the Soyuz crew will be the deorbit burn, which is now 21.5 minutes away. That burn will occur at 5:57 and 38 seconds Central Time tonight. That burn lasts for 4 minutes and 19 seconds and changes the velocity of the Soyuz by 115.2 meters a second, or about 258 miles an hour. This is additional video recorded earlier after the Soyuz undocked from the International Space Station as the 2 spacecraft orbited over the Pacific Ocean. The team here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room has been monitoring the activities of the Soyuz vehicle today. That latest video provided by cameras on the outside of the space station being controlled by the communications and tracking officer here in Houston. The robotics officer also working on preparing the cameras on the space station robotic arm, Canadarm2, so that they may also be trained on the Soyuz spacecraft later during Some of the upcoming events, including the deorbit burn, possibly could be viewed by the external cameras, and the atmospheric re-entry of the of the Soyuz vehicle. The return of the Expedition 12 and Brazilian astronaut crew is being overseen by the flight control team in the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolev, just outside of Moscow. The Soyuz flight control team there is led by Flight Director Rafael Ashimov. There's a group of Moscow-based U.S. flight controllers known as the Houston Support Group that are being led by Tim Kennedy and are joined by NASA Flight Director Matt Abbott and astronaut Peggy Whitson, who was part of the Expedition 5 crew aboard the space station.
Рассветы, this is Mission Control. How do you read?
Yes, слышно.
Read you loud and clear. Everything is nominal.
Проверили.
We have checked all the data. All the settings are nominal. Unintelligible. Just reminding at 01:43 we have to have IKV inhibits in place as per plan. Understand, thank you. So we'll be waiting for that call. Okay, at 43 minutes past the hour. Рассветы, this is Karate. We wish you luck. Thank you, Pavel. And we wish you every success for the next 6 months as well. Well, we'll try.
Expedition 13 Commander Pavel Vinogradov calling down to the Soyuz crew, wishing them luck.
Мы сейчас в основном занимаемся токарем. Так что уж после их посадки тогда.
The deorbit burn of the Soyuz spacecraft scheduled now in 16 minutes at 5:57 and 38 seconds tonight Central Time. The landing of the Soyuz spacecraft is scheduled for 6:48 p.m. Central Time or 5:48 in the morning at the landing site in central Kazakhstan.
This is Rassvet 1, 4300. The inhibits for IKV-1 and IKV-2 are in place. Copy. Visually, we can confirm attitude. The retrograde attitude. Based on IPP, we can confirm our attitude, and we have a drift of 1 degree in yaw. Copy. Based on what you should have right now, you should have OSK 180.00. Well, you're supposed to be in 180.0. So if you're in the correct orbit right now, you are not supposed to see the direction. I understand. I was watching on the equator, and even now I can say that the difference is insignificant based on visual observation. Accuracy is, well, it's not supposed to exceed 3 degrees. That is correct.
The Soyuz spacecraft with Expedition 12, Valery Tokarev and Bill MacArthur, and Brazilian astronaut Marcus Pontes is on track for a landing in central Kazakhstan at 6:48 p.m. Central Time this evening. That landing site that is being targeted is just to the northeast of Arkalyk, about 50 kilometers or 31 miles away. It is also about 380 kilometers or 236 miles southeast of Kustanai. Kustanai was where the primary recovery forces helicopters were based out of, and they took off from there towards Arkalyk about 1 a.m. Central Time this morning. They will take off from Arkalyk and be en route to the landing site in close proximity to the deorbit burn in preparation for recovery of the crew. Mission Control Moscow reported to the Soyuz crew about the weather at the landing site. The report was that the temperature is about 10 below Celsius, which is about 14 degrees Fahrenheit, but the skies were clear. The recovery crew will work quickly to make the crew comfortable and begin initial medical checkups inside a temporary tent at the landing site. The landing time is about 1 hour and 2 minutes before sunrise in central Kazakhstan. This is Mission Control Houston. Clocks continuing to count down to the deorbit burn, now 8 minutes and 30 seconds from now. It will start at 5:57 and 38 seconds p.m. Central Time. This is Mission Control Houston. We do have an audio link up with Public Affairs Officer Rob Navius, who is in Kazakhstan, to report on the landing activities tonight. Let's go to Rob.
And Rob, you're in.
Kylie, if you can hear me, we are standing on the airstrip in Arkalyk, not far from the landing site. The sound behind me, helicopter rotors that have begun to rev up in sequential fashion. 10 Russian Mi-8 helicopters ready to head down to the landing site on a clear and starry night. It is quite cold, temperatures hovering around the 20-degree mark Fahrenheit, but nonetheless, good conditions for landing. Almost no wind, which is the good news out here this morning. Everything is in preparedness out at the landing site. 4 all-terrain vehicles are ready to speed to the capsule, along with the first helicopter manned by Energia engineers and technical personnel, who will begin the process of extracting Valery Tokarev, Bill MacArthur, and Marcus Pontes just minutes after their touchdown. Just a moment or two ago, we actually saw the International Space Station fly directly overhead, a dramatic moment. All of the Russian helicopter pilots and Russian space management who are down here to support the landing operations looked up and went "Otlично," the Russian for fantastic, excellent. So everything, again, in readiness here in Arkalyk as we prepare to take off for the landing site to collect the Expedition 12 crew and Brazilian astronaut Marcus Pontes. Back to you, Kylie.
Thanks, Rob. That Rob Navius is part of the contingent aboard the helicopters to be en route soon to recover the Expedition 12 and Brazilian astronaut crew. That contingent also includes crew surgeon Dr. Ed Powers and astronaut Wendy Lawrence. Those helicopters should be on the ground soon after the Soyuz landing scheduled for 6:48 p.m. Central Time. It will be 5:48 in the morning at the landing site. Also aboard one of the lead helicopters is a videographer with a video phone, so hopefully we'll see some early pictures of the landing site and the crew. The deorbit burn now 5 minutes away from now. The recovery team in Kazakhstan calling in to report that they will be taking off soon en route to the landing site,
All parameters are nominal. The data
which is about 50 kilometers or 31 miles to the northeast of Arkalyk.
5 degrees. Copy.
The deorbit burn is scheduled to start at 5:57 and 38 seconds Central Time tonight. That burn will last for 4 minutes and 19 seconds and will change the velocity of the Soyuz by 115.2 meters a second, or about 258 miles an hour.
S9
With the spacecraft's thrusters pointed in the direction of travel, the engine firing will slow the vehicle down, allowing the spacecraft to drop into the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of about 400,000 feet. That point, called entry interface, will occur as the Soyuz orbits over the southern Atlantic Ocean and is when the crew will start to feel the effects of gravity again as the spacecraft heads towards its landing site in central Kazakhstan. An initial pilot parachute will open at 6:33 Central Time, deploying a drogue chute to slow the spacecraft. Additionally, the drogue chute has an area of 24 square meters and slows the Soyuz's rate of descent from 230 meters a second, or 755 miles an hour, to 80 meters a second, or 262 miles an hour.
Mission Control, this is Rassvet 1.
The main parachute will follow in sequence, and that has an area of 1,000 square meters and slows the Soyuz descent to 7.6 meters a second, or 17 miles an hour. A couple seconds before landing, the Soyuz's retrograde thrusters will fire, softening the landing of the Soyuz, and that landing is scheduled for 6:48 p.m. Central Time this evening.
That is correct. You're going to remain there.
We're now 2 minutes and 30 seconds away from the deorbit burn.
Thruster firing, and then you're going to go to display 45. Yeah, and you don't need to go back. Hopefully, never to go back. That's true.
Surgeon, Moscow surgeon. We have information on the cooling question. Crew comfortable. This past orbit.
Countdown clocks continue to count backward to the deorbit burn, now 1 minute and 8 seconds away from now. That deorbit burn is performed by the thrusters on the instrumentation propulsion module segment of the Soyuz spacecraft. It is scheduled to last 4 minutes and 19 seconds to change the velocity of the spacecraft by 115.2 meters a second, or about 258 miles an hour.
We're not looking... seeing instruction 29, general summary GSO is there, SG can be confirmed, and signaling mode, 37 seconds to thruster firing, cover is open, is indication of cover open is on, copy. This is Rassvet 015732, thruster firing, checking thrusters, data are fine. Pressure is 13.9 in the nozzles, KDU is nominal. 20 seconds, 9 meters. Consumption is 28 seconds, 13 meters, going to display 45. Copy.
This is Mission Control Houston. The deorbit burn is in progress.
Propellant consumption is 54. Current is 24. Copy. Please comment continuously. 1.09. Consumption is 74. 31 meters per second. BNO and current and argon are practically identical. Copy. 1.5 minutes, 40 meters. Consumption is 97. Copy. KDU data are nominal. Copy. (150), 49 meters. Flow rate is 120. Residual propellant is 442. Delta V is 56. Section 4. Propellant expenditure is 139. 59 meters per second, Delta V. Copy. Nozzles are 13.1 and one oxidizer nozzle is at 12.3. Copy. Expenditure is 164 plus 71.
This is Mission Control Houston. The Soyuz spacecraft's deorbit burn is in progress. With the vehicle's thrusters pointed in the direction of travel, the engine firing slows the vehicle down by about 258 miles an hour.
Delta V is 79. Expenditure is 189. Time on is 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Copy. Delta V is 87. Expenditure is 205. Copy. Acceleration is 0.46. Copy. The nozzle, the oxidizer nozzle is at 12.5. Delta V is 96. Expenditure is 227. V current is 99. BNO is 100. Acceleration is 0.46. 104, 105. Propellant expenditure is 246. V current is 108. BNO is at 110. Acceleration is at 0.46. Argon is at 112, 113. Ready for deactivation. Main command is confirmed. 115, 416. Time on. Propellant expenditure is 266 kilos. What's the pressure on display 45 and BNO display? What's the Delta V? BNO display shows 115.3. Display 45 shows 115.12. Copy. 115.3 is also the value in the table. BNO is 115.3 and argon is 115.2. The sensor is on. Copy. Separation on primary timeline is on. Take a look at the pressure in the household compartment. Pressure is dropping 245. Copy.
This is Mission Control Houston, the visiting vehicle officer here in Mission Control, reporting that the deorbit burn is complete.
G4 confirmed.
Right on schedule. The burn allowing the spacecraft to drop into the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of about 400,000 feet, resulting in a landing at central Kazakhstan at 6:48 p.m. Central Time, about 44 minutes from now.
It's 758. Pressure in the household compartment is 160 and dropping. Copy.
For the next 20 minutes or so, the Soyuz will free fall through the high upper portions of the Earth's atmosphere, beginning to feel the effects of the atmosphere about 6:24 p.m. Central Time tonight. That point of the Soyuz flight referred to as atmospheric entry. The two modules that burn up in the Earth's atmosphere, the orbital module or the habitation module, and the instrumentation propulsion module will separate about 6:21 p.m. this evening. The Soyuz begins its atmospheric reentry again about 6:24 p.m. A couple minutes later, the entry guidance onboard software is initiated at 6:26, and the crew will feel the maximum G forces somewhere in the 4 to 5 G range about 6:31. An initial pilot parachute will open at 6:33, deploying the drogue chute to slow the spacecraft. The Soyuz's rate of descent will be slowed from 230 meters a second, or 755 miles an hour, to 80 meters a second, or 262 miles an hour. The main parachute will follow in sequence. It will slow the Soyuz's descent to 7.6 meters a second, or 17 miles an hour, and angles the spacecraft vertically until just before touchdown, when the thrusters will fire, softening the landing of the Soyuz. After the retrograde thrusters fire, the speed at touchdown will be 2 meters a second, or about 4.5 miles an hour. And again, that landing is scheduled for 6:48 p.m. Central Time this evening. At the landing site, at the time of landing, it will be 1 hour and 2 minutes before sunrise. That site that is being targeted is in central Kazakhstan, about 50 kilometers or 31 miles northeast of Arkalyk.
Рассветы. This is Mission Control. How much propellant did you expend for the burn? 266 kilo. And on time was 4 minutes and 16. Thank you. Habitation module is depressurized. We are showing it to be at 20 millimeters, and the descent module is at 756. Copy. Can you determine your attitude right now? Well, it's dark. We're in the shadow. EPP is showing. It's dark. Nothing can be seen out the window. Well, it says that they say that sometimes you can see from the inversion layer some light, and you can detect. Well, I can't see anything outside the window, and Marcos can't see anything either. Understand. Copy. Well, maybe when you get to Africa you will get some backlighting.
Да, пока еще надо...
Right now we're over the ocean still. But we're closing in on the equator. Copy, thank you.
About 12 minutes from now, the next phase of entry is where the two of the three modules that make up the spacecraft separate. Those include the upper portion, the orbital module, or the habitational module, and the lower portion, the instrumentation propulsion module. That will set the stage for the entry interface through the Earth's atmosphere with the descent module in which the crew resides.
I am in the Rus manual descent control display. Copy.
The landing operations are being overseen by the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolev, just outside of Moscow. The team there expects to receive or obtain direct communication with the Soyuz spacecraft through Russian ground sites in about 12.5 minutes from now.
Рассветы, this is Mission Control. Read you loud and clear. Same here, page 101, where it says how you establish comm with search and rescue helicopters and planes. Basically, you can tell them now because we know all the parameters of the burn, and you will just need to tell them the G loads and the other times. Okay, I understand. And the same on VHF after re-entry, after plasma. After 02:26:13, you're going to come out of the plasma layer. We're going to have a short VHF pass, and we will be able to talk then. Okay. Understand.
Mission Control Moscow speaking with the Soyuz crew about communicating with the recovery forces that are en route to the landing site just to the northeast of Arkalyk. At the time of atmospheric entry, which is scheduled for 6:24 p.m. Central Time, there's plasma buildup around the descent module. There's typically a tough period of time communication with the crew at that time, as the point when the module is beginning to feel the effects of the upper reaches of the Earth's atmosphere.
Рассветы, you can go and transition GSS to ready mode. You can close your helmets with 2 clicks. We're not going to wait for 1540. Can we activate? That is correct. You can proceed. It says no later than. Close. F3 is issued. T3 is issued, and we're closing down our helmets. Copy.
The Soyuz crew closing the helmets on their Sokol spacesuit inside the descent module of the Soyuz spacecraft.
The indication is on. The helmets are closed. Ventilation is on. Copy. The handle controller is on I have it in my lap, and we have closed our helmets, 2 clicks each. Copy. Is it still difficult to monitor attitude? Visually, we can't see anything out of the window, and EPP is showing 1.5 degrees, same as previously. Copy.
Now about 6 minutes away from the separation of the orbital or habitational module and the instrumentation propulsion module away from the descent module in which the crew resides. This is Mission Control Houston, now 30 minutes away from the landing of the Soyuz spacecraft carrying the Expedition 12 crew, Commander Bill MacArthur and Flight Engineer Valery Tokarev and Brazilian astronaut Marcus Pontes back to Earth.
Mission Control, this is Rassvet 1. M17 is issued. Copy. 000. Just a reminder, after separation, verify opening of SAPSA from Impulse. Copy. Separation timeline on. Copy. Activate Rios power on.
Separation of the module is scheduled about a minute from now.
Indicators blinked and we are showing 0. Controlled descent. Copy.
Separation of the orbital or habitational module and the instrumentation propulsion module scheduled at 6:21 and 44 seconds, a little more than 1 minute from now. That will leave the descent module in which the crew resides for its entry into the Earth's atmosphere. The atmospheric reentry is scheduled in 4 minutes from now.
Rate gyro assembly BDUS 2 is on. Copy. Ready for separation. Controlled descent confirmed. Current altitude is 153.7. Copy. Based on BNO readings. Ready, getting ready for separation. Copy. We can confirm separation, and we can hear the beacon.
The orbital module and the instrumentation propulsion module have completed their task for the 6-month flight of the Soyuz vehicle. They will burn up in the Earth's atmosphere while the descent module continues on towards landing, now 25 minutes from now.
Sveti, please comment.
Now that the other modules have separated from the descent module, it is the only remaining module housing the Expedition 12 and Brazilian astronaut crew. The crew members should begin to feel the early tug of gravity soon as they begin entering the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of about 400,000 feet. The atmospheric entry now 1 minute and 35 seconds from now.
We are not getting anything right now, but please comment anyway.
As the plasma builds up around the descent module during the entry phase, typically there is a tough period of time to communicate with the crew. The module is beginning to feel the effects of the upper reaches of the Earth's atmosphere as it makes its descent toward landing. The maximum G-forces felt in about 6 minutes or so are between 4 and 5 Gs just before the parachutes begin to systematically deploy to slow the vehicle significantly. The main chute will then orient the spacecraft into a landing position, and just prior to touchdown, the retrograde rockets will fire to soften the landing even further. This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to monitor the landing operations for Expedition 12. Landing set for 20 minutes from now in central Kazakhstan as Expedition 12 Commander Bill MacArthur and Flight Engineer Valery Tokarev are with Brazilian astronaut Marcus Pontes inside the Soyuz spacecraft. The recovery forces helicopters had called in about 45 minutes ago, reporting that they were getting ready to take off to be en route to the landing site in central Kazakhstan. The helicopters were staged out of Arkalyk, and the landing site is about 50 kilometers or 31 miles to the northeast of Arkalyk. The visiting vehicle officer, Paul Lane, here in Mission Control Houston, reporting that the recovery forces have the capsule in sight. The NASA contingent aboard the helicopters and the recovery forces includes crew surgeon Dr. Ed Powers, astronaut Wendy Lawrence, and public affairs officer Rob Navius. They should be on the ground soon after the Soyuz landing to recover the crew. Also aboard one of the lead helicopters is a videographer with a video phone, so hopefully we'll have early pictures from the landing site. Landing now 18 minutes from now. The forecast for weather at the landing site called for cool temperatures around 14 degrees Fahrenheit but clear skies. It'll be 1 hour and 2 minutes before sunrise at landing. The recovery forces will work quickly to help make the crew members comfortable and begin initial medical checkups inside a temporary tent at the landing site. When those checkups are complete, the crew will be ferried to Kustanai. Which is about 380 kilometers or about 236 to the northwest of the landing site. In Kustanai, the crew members will board a plane and return to the Tchaikovsky Airport, which is near the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City.
Calibration is 4.5. Copy, what's amiss? 4 seconds. Overshoot. Okay, copy. 456 is overload. Copy.
And now we have another report from Rob Navius and the recovery forces.
Okay.
What mark are you reaching?
Kylie, still on the ground here in Arkalyk, waiting to take off. The Soyuz CMA-7 spacecraft has just passed directly overhead, leaving a brilliant plasma trail behind it, flying almost directly over a setting half-moon. A dramatic moment as the Soyuz heads for its landing site. Everything reported by the search and recovery forces to be in good shape. Several helicopters have taken off, including the Energia technicians, the flight surgeons. We are waiting to take off a short time from now, but a dramatic moment as the Expedition 12 crew and Marcus Pontes blaze toward a pinpoint landing not far from here. Back to you, Kylie.
Thank you, Rob. That landing now 16 minutes from now in central Kazakhstan, just to the northeast of Arkalyk.
After this separation, everything was nominal. Is that correct?
МКС СГ-2.
На связи. Слушаем, Паш. В СГ-2 слышим тебя.
Валера докладывал 456 перегрузка максимальная у них была. Потом пошло падение до 2,2 G, я его слышал, все нормально у них было на борту.
This is Mission Control Houston, now 13 minutes from landing. The Soyuz should be under parachute descent now. An initial pilot parachute was scheduled to open at 6:33 p.m. Central Time, deploying the drogue chute to slow the spacecraft. The drogue chute has an area of 24 square meters and slows the Soyuz's rate of descent from 230 meters a second, or 755 miles an hour, to 80 meters a second, or about 262 miles an hour. The main parachute then follows in sequence, and it has an area of 1,000 square meters and slows the Soyuz descent to 7.6 meters a second, or 17 miles an hour, and also angles the spacecraft vertically. Just before touchdown, the retrograde thrusters fire to soften the landing of the Soyuz even more. After the thrusters fire, the speed at touchdown will be 2 meters a second, or about 4.5 miles an hour. Again, that landing scheduled for 6:48 p.m. Central Time, a little less than 12 minutes from now.
МКС СУПа Москвы в канале СГ-2.
Да, отвечаем.
Паш, идет спуск на парашюте, с поисковиками связались, они все нормально. Пока спускаются на парашюте.
To the ground, and so far they are going down on a parachute. That's great.
This is Mission Control Houston, the visiting vehicle officer here, reporting that the recovery forces have two-way communications with the crew in the capsule, the Soyuz capsule.
Такое видели? Вам и не снилось. Значит, докладываю. Нет, я снял вход блестяще просто, отлично. Но, во-первых,
was great. But you know, we didn't see the engine at all, but we were supposed to see it according to the prediction. So I don't know how we turned, but we didn't see that at all. The specters, yes, I saw those 3 times. I saw specter recording. I don't know what came out of it, but I have something. I'm going to put it down. So your video is perfect. The camera, though, HDTV, it is working very well, but the lens is weak. But the picture was beautiful, classy. Also, does the videotape have the relaxation label on it or not?
Это имеется в виду релаксация.
Relaxation, then. Videotape, is it labeled?
Обязательно.
Yeah, let me look.
This is Mission Control Houston, now just under 7 minutes from the scheduled touchdown of the Soyuz spacecraft. The visiting vehicle officer here in Mission Control reports that the ground team has a visual of the parachute of the Soyuz spacecraft.
Mission Control on space to ground 2. Go ahead. Concerning the tape, it is labeled, it is RSEP246C112 section 292. Please say it again. The label on the tape is standard videotape RSE.
The other conversation being monitored now is between the Mission Control team in Moscow monitoring the station operations and the Expedition 13 crew on board the complex.
9-2.
Commander Pavel Vinogradov and Flight Engineer Jeff Williams are scheduled to go to sleep about 7 p.m. Central Time tonight.
Label what it is, and so it. Also, please label it as relaxatsya and place it in kit number 5, relaxatsya. Yes, of course.
Now 5 minutes away from the scheduled touchdown of the Soyuz spacecraft.
Pavel, clarification on a question for the tape that was used in relaxatsya in Fialka. This is the label that we are interested in. That's what actually I was talking about. Oh, that's the one, huh? Yes. Of course. I just took it from kit number 5, but that was not new, and I wasn't sure. Maybe something else was recorded on that. I didn't want to erase anything, so I took the clean tape and a new tape. All right. And please stow it so that we will find it for taking to the ground. For example, in our Relaxatsya 5 kit. Wilco.
Паш, вопрос по Электрису. Ты карту заменил?
A question on Electris. Did you replace the card?
This is Mission Control Houston, now 2 minutes from the scheduled touchdown of the Soyuz spacecraft carrying the Expedition 12 and Brazilian astronaut crews home. This is Mission Control Houston, now at the scheduled time for touchdown of the Soyuz spacecraft. We'll stand by for confirmation. And the visiting vehicle officer here in Mission Control Houston reporting that Soyuz has touched down in central Kazakhstan. That brings home the Expedition 12 crew after 189 days, 19 hours, and 51 minutes in space. And Brazilian astronaut Marcus Pontes after 9 days, 21 hours, and 17 minutes in space.
Unclear.
Pavel?
Please give us the results on relaxation fialka results. Just in a couple of words, what's the result?
This is Mission Control Houston. The visiting vehicle officer reported that the first helicopter had landed at the landing site of the Soyuz spacecraft. The first helicopter was to include Energia rescue teams and hopefully the videographer with the video phone so that we can see early pictures from the landing site soon. The crew flight surgeons should be on the second helicopter that took off from Arkalyk, including NASA crew surgeon Dr. Ed Powers. Astronaut Wendy Lawrence and Public Affairs Officer Rob Navius were on a helicopter that took off later from Arkalyk, and all should be at the landing site soon. This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to watch a live view from Mission Control Moscow, outside of Moscow and Korolev, Russia. The Soyuz undocking and landing operations were overseen by the flight control team in Moscow.
one more clarification.
маркировку видеокассеты. Это была мини-DV, которую вы вставляли в видеокамеру для фиалки.
That was the one for фиалка that you put in the videotape, right? Video camera, right?
Да, конечно. Это для фиалки. И на ней подписана там релаксация. Ну, хорошо. Дело в том, а номер на ней есть какой-нибудь релаксации?
Relaxation number on it. You just put yourself, right? You label it as relaxation yourself, right?
Сейчас я вот ее еще раз достаю.
I am taking it out again.
Где эта кассета, как она будет маркирована окончательно и где она будет лежать?
Okay, what is the final label on it and where are you going to store
Так,
it?
вот я достал вот эту вашу зеленую укладочку, называется релаксация, укладка номер 5, расходные материалы. Это написано как бы от руки. Прекрасно, прекрасно. Вот туда вы ее положите. Каллиграфическим женским почерком, да. И вот здесь вот в этой коробочке
inside this box.
We
have a bunch of diskettes and a mini DV. It says relaxation. And what I gave you, RSEP 2 for C112. That's all. Copy. Thank you. Oh, it has a barcode. It has a barcode. I can give it to you. 005033R. And I'm putting it all in kit number 5, 005533R. Thank you. And I am putting this box in kit number 5 and in accessory kit.
This is Mission Control Houston listening to a conversation between Mission Control Moscow and the crew on board the International Space Station, Expedition 13 Commander Pavel Vinogradov. Also on board with him is astronaut Jeff Williams.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who began their shift aboard the space station last week, and then final official handover to Expedition 13 occurred when the Soyuz crew closed the hatch at 12:23 p.m. Central Time this afternoon.
From the descent module, everything is nominal. Okay, what we need to do? You need to turn off the retranslation mode, which is RTK.
A few moments ago, the Mission Control Moscow team told the station crew that Expedition 12 and Marcus Pontes had landed.
Okay, let me find it.
Their Soyuz spacecraft was in an upright position and the crew was doing well.
Так, теперь я
готов. Ready. RTK.
Страница 939.
Page 939.
Шаг 5.
Step 5. Okay? Step 5, copy.
Отключение режима ретрансляции.
Relay mode deactivation.
Хорошо.
Copy. And I'm issuing right now. Yeah, you gotta go.
This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to stand by for additional reports from the landing site in central Kazakhstan. Expedition 12 crew, Commander Bill MacArthur and Flight Engineer Valery Tokrev and Brazilian astronaut Marcus Pontes landed on time at 6:48 p.m. Central Time tonight.
Please do.
Some of the recovery forces have landed at the landing site, and they will work quickly to make the crew comfortable and begin initial checkups, medical checkups inside a temporary tent they set up at the landing site.
And the next one is VHF 1 deactivation. Yes, please do that also. Issued.
After initial medical checkups at the landing site, the crew would be ferried to Kustanai aboard those recovery helicopters.
And you have a go to...
In Kustanai, they would then board a plane and return to the Tchaikovsky Airport, which is near the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City.
Very good.
That is about 45 kilometers or 30 miles outside of Moscow. And that is also where the crew members will be able to greet a group of family, friends, and colleagues, and then undergo their initial rehabilitation routines for the next few weeks. That return to the Tchaikovsky Airport is normally expected about 8 hours after landing, and that would be around noon on Monday in Star City.
I forgot to ask you, when was that? Well, it was about 2015.
Хорошо, в 20:15.
Copy, at 2015.
Спасибо.
Copy that. Thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston with video phone coverage from the landing site in central Kazakhstan.
Юра, а то место освободите. Освободите. Готов? Работать. Пока нет. Хорошо, хорошо.
This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to watch initial video from the landing site. There, astronaut Bill MacArthur inside the Soyuz spacecraft. This video provided by a video phone operated by an Energia videographer.
Сейчас Саша штатив возьмет, сейчас переключусь на него. Сань, попробуй на второй канал.
This is Mission Control Houston. We'll stand by now here. More video from the landing site. There, the Soyuz capsule in the distance as the recovery forces work to take the crew outside of the spacecraft.
Вот техник Марию закрыл босс, пусть откроет, ребята найдут. У тебя сбивается, уйди на третий, на четвертый канал, переходи. Релейс все рассыпается. На каком канале?
This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to watch video phone feeds from the landing site in central Kazakhstan. Soyuz commander Valery Tokarev was the first crew member to be extracted from the Soyuz capsule. The recovery team is working on assisting the crew members out of the capsule and making them comfortable, and they will begin initial medical checkups inside a tent at the landing site.
Еще Есть картинка, где я перехожу в свой кадр.
Я занял место, Сережа, я занял место, я жду второго космонавта. Что ты где это самое? Я ж не могу сидеть без штатива, представляешь?
Кто ты мне показывал? Что это такое, скажи?
Their view of Brazil's first astronaut, Marcus Pontes, who flew to the space station as part of a contract between the Brazilian Space Agency and the Russian Federal Space Agency. Pontes spent nearly 10 days in space after he launched to the space station with the Expedition 13 crew and spent about 8 days on board the station conducting science experiments for the Brazilian Space Agency.
Я пока вижу все в принципе.
Что у тебя с релейкой? Выключилось, Саш? Что с релейкой? Держись за релейку, у меня не хватило длины кабеля. Я вторую антенну буду сделать. Да. Давай попробуем.
There's Soyuz Commander Valery Tokarev.
Великолепно. То есть они наблюдали нас, вели, еще начинали, что, перед этим уже связь установили.
Поздравляю вас с возвращением на землю. Очень рада вас видеть. Удачи вам. Надеюсь, встретимся дальше.
Спасибо всех наступающим юбилеем, 45-летием пилотирования космонавтов.
Сейчас вас встретим. Вот он здесь, рядом. Да, я хорошо.
Expedition 12 Commander Astronaut Bill MacArthur. The recovery forces working on making the crew members comfortable there at the landing site in central Kazakhstan. Tokarev and MacArthur have spent 189 days in space as part of their mission to the International Space Station. Pontes now on the ground too with the crew after his 10-day flight to the space station after launching with the Expedition 13 crew last week.
Buddy, welcome back. Look great.
Вертолет работал и будем потом разбираться, хорошо?
Наташа,
Вон, значит, 50 пульс. Да, палатка готова, можете не носить.
Нет, еще 5 минут. Добрый день. Heck of a ride. I've never been through anything like that. It was like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. You'd love it.
This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to watch video phone footage from the landing site in central Kazakhstan with Brazilian astronaut Marcus Pontes in view now.
I'm very happy and thankful for all the work that was done in Sup, in Star City, and all the people that support the flight. And the best word I can say, thank you. Thank you, everything. It was really great. Все троих, пожалуйста.
этот? Почему? Пусть меняет. Ну пусть меняет, всех меняет, да, пусть меняет кассету. Боря, тебя видят силы, видят тебя. Алексей, как слышно? Сейчас трансляцию в записи повторю в записи.
This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to watch a video feed from the landing site in central Kazakhstan, where Expedition 12, Commander Bill MacArthur and Flight Engineer Valery Tokarev returned to Earth after 189 days in space, along with Brazilian astronaut Marcus Pontes after his 10-day flight. The recovery forces are working on making the crew members comfortable there for initial medical checks before they are taken in the recovery forces helicopters to Kustanai to board a plane back to Star City. This is Mission Control Houston. The recovery forces at the landing site in central Kazakhstan are continuing to make the crew members comfortable after landing on time at 6:48 p.m. Central Time tonight. They will prepare for the crew's departure from the landing site. They'll board recovery forces helicopters and ride to Kustanai. Kustanai is about 380 kilometers or 236 miles to the northwest of the landing site. There, the crew members will board a plane and return to the Chkalovsky Airport, which is near the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City, which is about 45 kilometers or 30 miles outside of Moscow. That is where the crew members will be able to greet a group of family, friends, and colleagues and undergo some of their initial rehabilitation routines. That scheduled return is normally expected about 8 hours after landing, which would be around noon on Monday in Star City. Houston with additional video at the landing site with the Soyuz capsule and the recovery forces looking at the capsule. This is Mission Control Houston with a live report from Rob Navius at the landing site.
Hey.
Rob, you're on the air.
We're here at the landing site for the Soyuz TMA-7, the crew out of their capsule, as you probably saw earlier from our video phone coverage. The Soyuz TMA-7 landed upright, its soft landing engines causing a slight divot in the ground. This is some of the flattest terrain that I have seen one of the returning expedition crews arrive at. Very flat, very desolate here in the steppes of central Kazakhstan as the first daylight has broken. The crew is inside the medical tent that I'm standing outside of at the moment, all reported to be in very good shape. The all-terrain vehicles have pulled up right behind the medical tent to extract the crew once they have completed their initial medical checkups. They will get inside these all-terrain vehicles and move back to helicopters for the ride back to Kustanai. Back to you.
This is Mission Control Houston, now back in the International Space Station Flight Control Room after that report from Public Affairs Officer Rob Navius at the landing site. The report's also confirming from the visiting vehicle officer here in Mission Control that the crew inside the medical tent is doing well for initial medical checkups, and the recovery team will take its time to make sure the crew is comfortable and then proceed with ferrying the crew to Kustanai, where they all can board a plane that will take off and take the crew back to the Chkalovsky Airport, which is just outside the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City, which is near Moscow. That return to Star City is normally about 8 hours after landing, so that will be around noon Monday in Star City. Now almost 1 hour since the Soyuz spacecraft touched down in central Kazakhstan, bringing home the Expedition 12 crew, Commander Bill MacArthur and Flight Engineer Valery Tokarev, after 189 days in space, and Brazilian astronaut Marcus Pontes back on Earth after 10 days in space. In just a few minutes, we will wrap up our live coverage of the landing operations here on NASA television. Some programming notes include some additional video from the landing site, interviews with crew members if possible, and the welcoming ceremony of the crew members in Kustanai will be played no later than 4:30 a.m. Central Time here on NASA television. The video of the crew's arrival at Chkalovsky Airport and at the Profi apartment complex at the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center is expected to play on NASA television at 11 a.m. Central Time Sunday. The teams here in Houston and in Moscow will continue to monitor the operations overnight. The team here in Houston watching over the systems of the International Space Station, in particular the U.S. systems, as the Expedition 13 crew members are now on their sleep shift for the night, scheduled to wake up in a little less than 8 hours from now. That Commander Pavel Vinogradov and Flight Engineer Jeff Williams took over command of the space station today when the Expedition 12 crew went inside the Soyuz spacecraft and closed the hatches at 12:23 p.m. Central Time. The Soyuz had then undocked on time from the station at 3:28 p.m. Central Time and landed in central Kazakhstan at 6:48 p.m. Central Time. Here on NASA television, we will have our regular coverage of the mission to the International Space Station at 10 a.m. Central Time Monday. In the meantime, the International Space Station continuing to orbit the Earth every 90 minutes at a speed of 17,500 miles an hour. All systems continuing to function well aboard the complex. This is Mission Control Houston.